giving an opportunity this afternoon for me to share some of the issues in response to the Governor General's speech. Before I update this Honourable House, Mr. Speaker, firstly, on behalf of my people, the North Wairarkana constituency, and that of my ministry, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services, I would like to convey my sincere acknowledgement and congratulations to the new Governor General for his first delivery of his speech from the throne. Mr. Speaker, in my maiden speech that I delivered on the 11th of June 2024, I provided a brief overview of the health status and the core health indicators of 2023. In that speech, Mr. Speaker, I also briefly highlight the current status of malaria and non-communicable diseases, and further touched on essential medicines and supplies, health infrastructures and health workforce, and the current progress that we have made responding to the three phases of the National Referral Hospital business case. Mr. Speaker, further in that median speech of the 11th June 2024, I mentioned two immediate priorities that I would address, and these were, first, the need to ensure the uninterrupted access to essential medicines and supplies. Secondly, the need to reopen the Kukum Clinic that is currently closed due to termites. Allow me then to update this Honourable House on our progress on these immediate priorities before I move on to informing this Honourable House on our 100 days program implementation, as well as the Ministry's policy program. On the issues of the medicines and supplies, while I have responded to some of the measures that my ministry has taken on this space on the Monday 9th September 2024, let me briefly reiterate the measures and briefly inform other additional measures that we have taken so far. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned on Monday this week, internally, the ministry has taken a few structural changes. Firstly, under the World Bank support project with the expansion of the National Medical Store has now separated its store's warehouse from its offices. Further, the National Medical Store has stepped and increased its security protocol, measures such as the screening of vehicles and bikes, which are now being carried out by the contracted security on site. The installation of the National Medical Store CCTV camera has been done, but requires some more minor adjustment to be done so that the CCTV is fully operational and functional. National Medical Store has further changed main locks to the main gate to ensure minimal access entrance to the warehouse. Likewise, NRH is also stepping up on its structural measures, as well as instilling standard procedures to limit access. My ministry, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services, will be reviewing current processes and systems to better policy change as needed. Mr. Speaker, with the support of the government and key line ministries and donor partners, the ministry has increased its standing imprest from 250,000 SBD to 350,000 SBD, as the current standing imprest has proven to be inadequate since the Ministry of Health and Medical Services has recently faced increased occurrences in the payment of fees, charges, especially on container demurrages and detentions, container storages, custom clearance, and transport costs for loading and unloading of containers. Due to the incoming orders arriving almost simultaneously, and that we are expecting 15 containers to be arriving before the closure of 2024. This has affected our timely disbursement of funds to the Solomon Islands Port Authority and shipping agent, hence accumulations of costs. In further addressing some of our bottlenecks of the supply chain, Mr. Speaker, a blanket exemption and a waiver of port charges for all medicine, medical supplies, products, and consumable as an immediate interim temporary measures has been agreed on until the ministry normalizes the situation relating to addressing some of the bottlenecks. In implementing this phase, the ministry is working closely with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Development on the implementation of this decision. Mr. Speaker, further addressing our bottlenecks, particularly to do with shipment and delay payments to one of our major shipping agents, the TRADCO, that facilitates the shipment of our medical supplies, consumable and medicines into our country from abroad, the ministry has drafted an MOU to streamline some of the processes and obligations of the parties to ensure there are minimal delays and disruptions in the payments. Work and dialogue on this are ongoing with the aim to have this MOU finalized and presented to Cabinet at our earliest. Mr. Speaker, on Monday this week, I mentioned the technical assistance and engagement for the review of the supply chain management under the World Bank support. While this work is ongoing and for the completion is in mid-December, I have been briefed yesterday on some of the key issues of the supply chain. Mr. Speaker, access to essential medicines and supplies will continue to be a challenge, but we are not alone. I, as the Minister for the Health, will ensure that my ministry's executive and officials responsible to do our best to save our country and our people across Solomon Islands. The supply chain is indeed complex, and drugs and medicine remain a significant expenditure pressure for the Ministry of Health and Medical Services. The solution to reduce the frequency of stockouts is to have a budget that truly reflects the quantities of medicine and supplies required by our growing population and address inefficiencies within our supply chain management. Now that I have signed on the MOU, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission with the Indian High Commissioner late last month, this will allow the ministry to explore direct procurement of our medical supplies and consumables. In doing so, we will be able to have a substantial reduction and cost savings of 50 to 60% of our current national medical store budget. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, the ministry will be targeting a more realistic national medical store budget come 2025, and my ministry with key stakeholders is currently looking into the situation with the intention of streamlining all processes at all levels and with a quick turnaround time to ensure the procurement and release of medical supplies and ensure timely availability and delivery of our critical supplies do not run out. Mr. Speaker, the discussion on the National Medical Store budget between my office and that of the Ministry of Finance officials have started and will continue. On the reopening of the Kukum Clinic, the project management unit of the Ministry of Health has completed the assessment of the health facility and also completed the bill of quantity linked to the renovation of the facility. While the improvement of this facility will go beyond the 100 days, the ministry is thankful to one of our development partners who is standby to support the implementation of the renovation and refurbishment and eventually to the health facilities reopening. Mr. Speaker, moving on to informing this Honourable House on a 100 days program and implementation progress, allow me to highlight some of the achievements to date. Outputs that are pending and the challenges that we have. On the review and audit of the National Medical Stores on its supply chain, as mentioned at this Honourable House, on Monday, the Ministry of Health is indebted to the World Bank for allowing one of its highly qualified and experienced supply chain management specialists who is conducting the review of the supply chain. Mr. Speaker, while this technical support is ongoing and will be completed in December, I have been briefed on the initial finding of the review, and there are, of course, issues identified at upstream and downstream levels of the supply chain. My ministry is determined to address and resolve the low-hanging fruits for the immediate actions before the closure of this year, 2024. Mr. Speaker, the role delineation policy, which was developed in 2018, is the overarching policy to guide the pathway to achieving universal health coverage. As per the 100 days priority action, the ministry is to review these policy documents to ensure achievements to date and what policy changes are needed. The scope of the work on the role delineation policy review is in 3 phases, and there are: first, consists of the planning and design phase of how the review of the RDP will be conducted and positioned. Phase 2 consists of the actual implementation of the review process. Phase 3 consists of the write-up and how the refreshed and updated RD policy will be looped. Thus, the policy document would then be known as the Role Delineation Policy 2. At the request of the Ministry of Health and Medical Services for technical assistance, DFAT is providing support for the technical engagement of the technical assistants who has been recruited late last month in August to undertake the implementation of the phase 1 of the review process. Mr. Speaker, in regards to the National Medical Store improvement and expansion, this work is completed and officially launched on the 2nd of July 2024. Additional works are ongoing with the installation of new coolant system and cold chain for storage of vaccine. The support is made possible by the World Bank COVID project with an amount almost 7 million SBD. Mr. Speaker, on the key deliverables of the 100 days program, policy is the Kilifi Hospital improvement and expansion, with the official signing of the contract between the Ministry of Health and Medical Services and the construction company Titano on the 18th of July 2024. The official groundbreaking of the project is scheduled to take place in early October this year, 2024. Currently, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services is assisting the construction company to ensure all the paperwork, including appropriate exemptions, are obtained and to ensure smooth transition to commence implementation. Mr. Speaker, in anticipating the commencement of works for the Kilifi Hospital, I am counting on the good people of Malaita Province, provincial leaders, community and the church leaders, and the surrounding communities of Kilifi Hospital to ensure support and cooperation is rendered to the construction company while they work to deliver this long-awaited project. Mr. Speaker, our signed MOU as expected key deliverables following the endorsement by Cabinet on the 2 MOUs on the 30th of May 2024. The MOU on the Indian pharmacopoeia was signed off on the 6th of August 2024. The Indian MOU on the cooperation is still pending, and we are liaising with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and External Trade to help us facilitate this. The signing of the Indian pharmacopoeia now establishes the opportunity for the Ministry of Health and Medical Services to procure medicines and supply from a reputable factory in India. Pending availability of funds and resources, my ministry is anticipating for a mission to India to look at the standards and regulatory aspects of the India Pharmacopoeia, and we will be working closely with the World Health Organization on this. In regards to the MOU with the Philippines is pending. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and External Trade is following, but as we understand, the feedback on the MOU is yet to be received from the Philippines officials. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue with business as usual. We need to rethink and take seriously the financing of the health sector, and under my leadership, we must recommit to the implementation of the expected deliverables of the GNAT policy document, the role delineation policy, and the National Health Strategic Plan 2022 to 2031. As we have witnessed during the pandemic, that the impact of the pandemic is beyond the health sector. The pandemic has affected all sectors of the economy, highlighting the importance of investing in health sector. We must invest in our health sector because health is life. There is no getting around the fact that quality health care takes investment, but that's how we must see it, as an investment to be nurtured, not a cost to be contained. The bedrock of health financing for our country must increase in domestic and public financing. The private sector has an important role to play, and as part of its social responsibility, must also find ways to support health services in the country. And I want to applaud and appreciate GPO that has built some of the private clinics around Guadalcanal Plains that continue to provide health services not only for the locals, not only for the employers, but as well as the local around in that area. Mr. Speaker, allow me to remind this honorable House that the health is the biggest wealth for a human being in his or her entire lifetime. One can survive with excess money, but can't survive without good health. Health is something that we can't buy with money, but we can take care of it and manage it. And we can cure it when we need it with the help of the money. If a person is not having a good health, he will not be able to enjoy his or her life to the fullest. Money doesn't make a person rich and happy, but good health does. Moreover, a person can't feel complete and happy without good health. These are trying times, Mr. Speaker, to say the least, and it is important that as a members of this Parliament, whether in government or in opposition, that we need to stand together to contribute and ensure better health service delivery for our people in an efficient and sustainable manner. Mr. Speaker, with my ministry's policy statements, I will also bring in some important ongoing legislative and policy changes for the delivery of health and medical services to ensure all individuals access healthcare, quality healthcare. First, the review of the Health Service Act 1998. 10 consultations, including provincial consultation, have been done. We yet to have final consultation, and that is with our line ministries. As I speak, the technical support source from WHO is in country for further dialogue on this Health Service Act. Review the Public Health Emergency Bill will be replaced a Public Health Bill. This is to encompass other aspects of the public health arena. Given the policy on the maternal health and disability have endorsed by Cabinet last year, both mental health bill and disability bill are being worked on to legislate rights of our unprivileged population. Mr. Speaker, health workforce is a vital, functional foundation, or I would say an engine room of any healthcare service, any healthcare system. So human capital development in healthcare is important. It's important as addressing medicine shortage. With the increasing trend of international health workforce migration, I, as the Minister of Health, with my ministry's executive, will develop health force retention strategy. This is important, so the review of the Health Workers Act 1989 is essential, and there is a need to develop a comprehensive health workforce policy. Work has been supported by WHO for the past months. I have just recently signed an MOU with Vanuatu Ministry of Health for our nurses and doctors to have an opportunity to work in Vanuatu, but also in that MOU will allow our health workforce to retain and automatically absorbed into the system. I want to thank my colleague Minister of Public Service to support this idea. I want to also thank the Chairman of Health and Medical Services Parliamentary Committee Chair, the MP for East Honiara, and his secretary to attend WHO meeting in Vanuatu on the topic of health workforce. Mr. Speaker, I wish to acknowledge all health workforce for their commitment to their person, regardless to their commitment, regardless of our domestic economic challenges. I salute all the nurses and the doctors for your dedication and passion to serving our people. What is in the dream ahead, Mr. Speaker? I will try my utmost best to focus on a transformative outlook for healthcare in Solomon Islands with the following. First, a rezoning of our healthcare system into the constituency boundaries that will align to the Constitutional Assembly amendments. This means that Solomon Islands will have 50 zones. We will have to develop a constituency healthcare system, and this system will become provincial healthcare system, and these provincial healthcare systems will be our national healthcare system, which means that this is one of our thought approach to decentralized healthcare system. So when we have constituency healthcare system, we will have an area health center in that constituency and develop rural health clinics, and then the rural health clinics will attend to all the primary healthcare issues, and then the constituency area health centers will attend to secondary healthcare issues, and our provincial hospitals will then deal with the tertiary healthcare issues. And then one day I dream that National Referral Hospital will only deal with specialist healthcare needs. Infrastructure repairs and maintenance of provincial health facilities is also important, Mr. Speaker. And as I said in my earlier speeches and debates, that I have a passion to tour provincial health hospitals. I have first met Itukirakira, and then just recently on Tuesday, when I have the privilege, and I want to thank Australia through DFAT for facilitating this trip to Lata, that I have seen firsthand that some of our provincial hospitals, or all of them, need repairs and upgrade. Provincial connectivity for good health coverage is one of the things to which I dreamed for, Mr. Speaker, and that can be only done if we have a medical seat. And I am certain that if the business case is finished, I will bring it to Cabinet. One of the considerations as we look into the future, Mr. Speaker, I would want to explore and consider private-public partnership initiative to strengthen our healthcare service delivery, especially in the urban areas. I, as the Minister, have a long journey of rough waters to come, Mr. Speaker, and I am hopeful with the support of every individual Solomon Islanders, we will one day transform our healthcare services to the services that we deserve. I ask the good people of this country, Solomon Islands, to look after your health by avoiding certain activities that will impair your physical well-being, and please ensure that you have a good mental well-being and also have a better socialization, because this is health. and not merely the absence of disease. Thank you, honorable colleagues, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your attention. God bless Solomon Islands from soul to soul. Mr. Speaker, I support the motion, and I now take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Let me for the opportunity to the Minister for Agriculture, and before I come to you for education. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for recognizing the MP for East Makira and the Minister for Agriculture and Livestock. I rise to thank all His Excellency the Governor General for delivering the traditional speech from the throne on the 12th of August 2024. I hereby acknowledge the Honourable Prime Minister for allowing us to respond to the speech from the throne by His Excellency the Governor General. I do appreciate my colleague ministers and members of Parliament whom have spoken before me on the same. Speaker, sir, as the Minister responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, I sincerely welcome the strong reminder by His Excellency the Governor General, the call by His Excellency the Governor General urging the Government for National Unity and Transformation to prioritize agriculture through its development policies and availing sufficient resources to the industry to make agriculture the economic backbone of our economic development is hereby fully endorsed. Mr. Speaker, sir, the speech from His Excellency the Governor General is exactly in line with what the Ministry is pursuing under my leadership and that of the GNAT government. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry continues to face challenges ranging from a severe technical gap among its cadre, an aging workforce, an outdated organizational and functional structure, a near-absent extension services, lack of basic infrastructure, lack of reliable and affordable shipping services, a poorly resourced ministry over a very long time, lack of clear development pathway, and a lack of leadership at the ministry level, among others. Moreover, the GNAT government is in full agreement with His Excellency to resuscitate agriculture and make it not just as a platform for food production only, but also as a holistic platform for development in Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, sir, in response to these many challenges and the call from His Excellency, the GNAT government has approved the following 8 policy priorities for my ministry to implement in the coming years. 1, organizational and functional restructuring. 2, legislative and policy reforms. 3, revitalizing the agricultural extension services. 4, increase the export of commodities and value-added products. 5, diversification of agricultural production. 6, build research capacity in agriculture through establishment of agriculture research center, as no country has achieved substantial agricultural development without establishing and maintaining efficient government experiment stations. 7, make agriculture attractive to all levels of society, particularly our youths, and resilient to climate change. And 8, securing Solomon Islands flora and fauna against the invasive alien species and facilitating access to markets. Speaker, sir, these 8 broad policies may sound too little, too many, but they are intertwined and interconnected and will be implemented congruently. These broad policies will prioritize in recognition of our enormous potential in agriculture and to drive the economic growth of our country. On these policies are implemented, Solomon Islands is expected to achieve sustainable economic growth through making agriculture attractive across all levels of society and making agriculture everyone's business for long-term sustenance of the sector. 2, growing and strengthening the agricultural sector as the economic backbone for Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, sir, the GNAT government recognizes agriculture as the largest source of mass employment in this country, along with fertile land that we have. Hence, it is our endeavor to attract our youth population to venture into agriculture as a profit-making entity while increasing food resilience at the same time. Speaker, sir, let me elaborate on some of the broad agricultural policies going forward. 1, the first priority policy priority takes into consideration the change of time and age at which we now live. In order to respond effectively to evolving needs of our population, the ministry has to address its technical gaps and establish clear decision-making mechanism. Proper coordination of programs and projects involving multi-stakeholders must also be in place that we hope to achieve through the restructuring. 2, policy and legislative reforms. The ministry has several outdated acts and defunct laws. Some of these include our Agriculture and Livestock Act 1935, even before the World War II. The Bee Industry Act 1996, the defunct Livestock Development Authority 1997, to name just a few. For so long, this ministry has had no cabinet-approved policy either, except the Agriculture Sector Growth Strategy and Investment Plan, ASCHIP 2021 to 2030 for short, that was launched in 2021. Therefore, reforms on policies and legislation is paramount. These policies are intended to develop the sector to become the economic backbone of Solomon Islands by making it attractive at all levels of society for long-term sustenance of our economic development. 3, another area we would like to address in our policy priorities is the poor state of our extension service that has not been effective for a long time now. This has hampered the productivity at the rural level. The intention now is to have the presence of our extension service in all our constituencies through collaborative and smart strategic approach with the use of digital technology. 4, recognizing our mass potential in agriculture in terms of employment and land fertility, my ministry aims to boost commercial agriculture sector and thereby increasing the export of commodities and value-added products. Not to mention our 2 traditional cash crops, cocoa and coconut. Currently, we export 4,000 tons of dried cocoa beans that generate new foreign earnings of 247 million SPD per annum at the current world market price. But our potential is 23,000 tons of dried cocoa beans. Considering our limitation and challenges, the ministry is only targeting 12,000 tons in the next few years. This should generate a new foreign revenue of 741 million SPD per annum from cocoa exports alone, should the current market price remain high. Another crop with a huge potential for immediate return is coconut. Currently, we export 20,000 metric tons of copra annually, but our potential is 500,000 metric tons. The ministry, along with its important stakeholders like SEMA, are targeting just 1/5 of our potential, which is 100,000 metric tons. This in turn will give us a new foreign earning of 462 million SPD per annum. Speaker, sir, combining these 2 commodities exports alone, we can reach these targets in the next 3 years and should earn a projected foreign earnings of 1.2 billion SPD per annum from copra and cocoa dried beans alone. And this is still with no value addition. Apart from coconut and cocoa, my ministry is working very closely with our DFAT colleagues to sort out our export of pineapples to Australia. The ministry is also working very closely with Sapefam for its state-of-the-art cassava processing facility to become operational soon. And hopefully it should start exporting 15 tons of frozen cassava to Australia on a monthly basis. As you can see, our potential in agriculture export sector is huge and still very much untapped. Speaker, sir, our livestock farmers continue to face high cost of feed imported from abroad. The ministry is therefore working closely with the World Bank and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, through their existing project and technical cooperation programs with us to tackle this head-on. We are also collaborating with other technical institutes from China to establish fully mechanized commercial rice farming and vegetable production with our new emerging crops. Currently, our annual rice import sits between 400 to 500 million SBD. This is captured under our policy priority to diversify agricultural production based and advance import substitution. Other areas to be targeted in our policy priority include sizable support to our poultry, piggery, and honey farmers, but with consideration on economies of scale. For cattle, the ministry is seriously thinking of partnering with the private sector to grow this industry in this country. Speaker, sir, since ethnic tension, the ministry has been without a research center. This has greatly hampered our efficiency in providing the up-to-date, relevant information and techniques on farming practices. The intention now is to redevelop our Agriculture Research Center to be fully equipped with facilities for field research work on farm mechanization, high-value crops, table food crops, root crops, spices, new emerging crops, and fruit trees, and improved livestock genetic resources, and downstream processing and value-adding technologies to boost production for both local consumption and export markets. Speaker, sir, in the current era with rising sea levels and the adverse effects of climate change, agriculture must evolve to become resilient against all these shocks. The ministry is therefore exploring strategies with its partners to implement climate-smart agriculture to improve access to nutritious diet in our rural communities. This includes encouraging our youth to venture into agribusiness. Speaker, sir, as our development and growth continues to expand, we become more susceptible to introduce pests and diseases. Therefore, securing our flora and fauna against invasive alien species and facilitating access to new markets is a top priority for the ministry. Speaker, sir, to successfully implement these policy priorities, the ministry needs the strong support from all our partners and important stakeholders, including resource and landowners, investors, donor partners, civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, farmers, private enterprises, financial institutions, service providers, and line ministries. Speaker, sir, while I have the opportunity to speak, let me also update this honorable House on our good people of Solomon Islands on the implementation status of our 100 days program and policy priorities under my ministry. My ministry was tasked with 8 policy priorities since the GNAT government came into office to implement in its first day as follows. 1 is to review, revise, and amalgamate all agricultural sector policies to align with the ASGIP, the Agriculture Sector Growth Strategy and Investment Plan, and reflect into the agriculture sector development policy. Mali is pleased to say that it has had a draft policy in place with the first stakeholder consultation last month. The ministry is expected to provide an inclusive and comprehensive agriculture sector development policy to Cabinet for approval in the month of November, as few more consultations with our stakeholders in the provinces and our development partners will come. 2, Speaker, sir, the second policy priority was to implement a sustainable financing scheme and fixed services grant to stimulate copra and cocoa production to increase export volume. On that, the ministry is working to operationalize a steering committee comprising of representatives from the Ministry of Commerce, Finance, Planning, Agriculture, and CBSI, private sector, particularly from the cocoa industry working committee, and SEMA. The ministry is about to secure approximately 6 million of fixed grant for both cocoa and coconut from the national government to be dispersed to qualified farmers and traders as a revolving fund. The steering committee will be responsible for implementation of the revolving fund. Activities qualified under the revolving fund include tools, equipment, trading, farm maintenance, and quality assurances. Speaker, sir, the third policy priority was to enhance support for the development of cash crop and horticultural crops. Its implementation is ongoing. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fourth policy priority was the cassava processing facility. The Ministry is pleased to inform everyone that Solomon Islands, for the very first time, now has a fully equipped modern cassava processing facility. We are assisting the facility to bring over engineers from China to calibrate the cassava processing equipment that were procured from a Chinese supplier last year. With their arrival, the fully equipped cassava processing facility on Goodall Canal Plains will be operational and in good position to export containers of first-grade frozen cassava to a buyer in Melbourne within this year. The cassava processing facility will be also able to produce cassava noodles and cassava flour for our domestic market from next year. Speaker, sir, another policy priority for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock was to initiate discussions on the re-establishment of the National Agriculture Training Institute at Forte on Malaita Province. The consultations are ongoing and the Ministry is quite pleased with the response from the landowners, who have been very supportive of re-establishing the Institute. Such facilities are very important for agricultural development, more so for our people of Malaita, who are very industrious, and shall be the first direct beneficiaries of such facility when it becomes operational. The Ministry is still weighing the opportunity costs, and a report will soon be furnished to the Cabinet for consideration. Speaker, sir, another policy priority for immediate implementation by the Ministry is the installation of a biosecurity vapor heat treatment facility. Glad to again inform the House and our nation that for the first time, Solomon Islands will soon be able to meet international market requirements for export of fruits, vegetables, and root crops. In year 2022, MAL procured a vapor heat treatment plant from Japan. This treatment plant would be able to treat fruits and other agricultural produce that are susceptible to infection of fruit flies. The Solomon Islands has not been able to export fruits like mango, melons, due to the presence of fruit flies in our country. With the vapor heat treatment plant now ready for operations, the future for export of agricultural products like fresh fruit, vegetables, and root crops will come to pass. A warehouse has been completed and engineers from Japan will travel over to Honiara in November to install the treatment plant, ready for operations. This is fully funded by SIG project and cost is around 7 million SBD, inclusive of treatment plant, warehouse, and accessories and logistics. Speaker, sir, the seventh policy priority of the Ministry for the last few weeks was to review the extension service. This is about to be completed with analysis of data collected from all our provinces. Preliminary analysis indicate a very sorry state of our extension service and that it will need a collaborative approach from every stakeholder. We expect a modern approach to roll out services through our extension department, using the technologies that is at our disposal to try and be present in all our constituencies as we strive to make agriculture the economic backbone of our country. Mr. Speaker, sir, the final policy priority for the first 100 days was to conduct a feasibility study on Vela La Vela with a view to establish a new oil palm plantation. A scoping report is about to be completed from a field trip conducted by our technical officers. In the report, the Ministry is recommending a full feasibility study to be conducted by the investor, as the Ministry does not have the technical capacity nor the resources to do such at the moment. Speaker, sir, considering all the challenges in terms of availability of the resources and technical capacity within the Ministry, I must say here that I am pleased with the performance of my Ministry in the implementation of the GNAT's first 100-day policy priorities. Despite all the odds, we are about 80% through implementation and hope to achieve most of it by the end of the financial year. Speaker, sir, let me now turn my attention to some of our ongoing efforts to develop our agriculture sector in the country. Although we have not been fully resourced by the national government, as we would like to, my ministry has been a recipient of some donor-funded projects that I would like to make known to the whole nation. My ministry has been very fortunate to receive a total funding of 15 million USD from the World Bank for the Solomon Islands Agriculture and Rural Transformation Project, SIAT for short. This project is financed through grant and loan arrangement. It commenced in 2022 and will lapse in 2026. The project mainly focuses on provinces of Godol Canal, Makiraulawa, and Malaita, and targets all subsectors in agriculture except cattle, kava, and betel nut. Due to the stringent measures imposed by the World Bank office in New York and the lack of capacity within the ministry to implement such a large project, we have been slow to roll it out, but we are now picking up speed. The project focuses on building the capacity of rural farm associations to increase agricultural production and improve market access in selected value chain. The project will shortly enter into grant agreements with 20 grantees, each of whom will receive between 220,000 and 440,000 from the 3 provinces. I'm glad to mention that this morning I officiated the grant signing of the first farmers from Malaita who benefit under this project. Speaker, sir, the ministry is further fortunate to have another ongoing project through the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, called STODAS. It stands for Sustainable Transformation of Domestic Agri-Food Systems. This is a fully grant-based project worth around 3 million SBD and will end in 2026. This project mostly targets Central, Temotu, and Renal Bellona provinces. It looks at food transformation systems within these 3 provinces, including agribusiness entrepreneurship. The final major project that we will soon receive is from the IFAD, International Funds for Agricultural Development. It is called Agricultural Investment for Markets and Nutrition Project. It is worth around 19.8 million, also financed through grant. It is expected to commence towards the end of this year and going forward for the next 6 years. This project mostly will cover the provinces of Western, Choiseul, and Isabel. The project will provide direct funding to our rural farmers and stakeholders involved in the sector. Speaker, sir, through the ministry, though the ministry is receiving this huge funding support from our multilateral organizations, they do come with their own strict requirements, and some of these are not properly designed at the start, coupled with our own inefficiencies, such as lack of clear coordination guidelines among these different projects. And so they do not necessarily solve many of our existing challenges. And if they do, it will be some years later that we will slowly come to appreciate their successes. The ministry recognizes its own shortcomings and challenges. Therefore, I and my officers are working closely together to overcome many of them, thereby grow our agriculture to become resilient and attractive to our citizens. Only then we should be able to effectively engage our rural people to go into agriculture production and agribusiness and move away from bombarding members of parliament for assistance. And to start with, GNAT government is expected to increase the budget allocation for my ministry in the financial year 2025 budget. Speaker, sir, there is a huge potential in the agricultural sector. As the Minister for Agriculture, I will ensure that GNAT government places the highest priority in agriculture in terms of providing resources, among others. I will ensure that my technical officers in the ministry take to heart the policy priorities of the GNAT government and implement them accordingly. Speaker, sir, in closing, I ask a responsible minister give my full assurance to the House and to the people of Solomon Islands that agriculture is and will be on the rise, and our people will see a new dawn. The ministry will strive to implement a long-term sustainable development for our agriculture sector by making it attractive to our youths and shifting from being a food production base only to becoming a profit-making entity as well. Through these new approaches, we hope to make agriculture the business for everyone in order to make it the economic backbone of Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, sir, with this, I once again thank His Excellency, the Governor General, for the speech from the throne, and the Honorable Prime Minister for this opportunity to respond accordingly. For better or for worse, I give my assurance that the GNAT government will ensure agriculture shall rise to new heights. I resume my seat and I support the motion.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing the member for South Choiseul, for giving time for him to speak on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I would like to speak in support of the motion moved by the Prime Minister and which other members of the Parliament have already spoken on in response to the address to the Parliament by His Excellency the Governor General on the 12th of August. His Excellency address outlined Government of National Unity and Transformational Agenda for the 12th Parliament. It is an agenda which responds to the Solomon Islands social and economic development needs of today. The agenda responds to the challenge that we as a country face in this 21st century. His Excellency address provides renewed hope that if we do things the right way, we can restore confidence, fairness, and decency in our society, and which treats and cares about all people in our country as equal despite how diverse we are. It is important for all of us to recognize and acknowledge that the major challenge we face today, new and old, are before us. In addressing these challenges, this 12th Parliament must seek to match the resolve and resilience of the people of whose behalf we serve in this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, let me assure this House and my colleague members of the Parliament in the ruling Government of National Unity and Transformation that as a new member of a new government with new agenda for Solomon Islands gives me cause for much optimism. The optimism was certainly generated and justified when members of the ruling GNAT made allegiance to work as a political party for the sake of our people and country. Therefore, I would like to encourage all members of Parliament, including those in the opposition and independent groups, that we all work together to create and develop a much brighter future for our people and our country. As Member of Parliament, we must prove our worth as legislators to be transparent and accountable of our actions and decisions we make, and to unite our people irrespective of their political affiliations or background. Like the government of the past, the Government of National Unity and Transformation has pledged to govern Solomon Islands and thoughtfully devise its policy statements to guide development aspiration of our country. In my own terms, the Government of National Unity and Transformation, through the address by His Excellency, the Governor General, knows that our country faces serious and pressing challenges, and our people are being affected. We are aware that there is rising cost of living. We know that there are scarcity in paid jobs, and those who are formally employed in general services generally receives low wages. Our low-lying atolls and our low coastline areas are disappearing due to climate change induced by the warming of the sea, which is cause the sea level to rise and are exacerbated by increased wave erosion and human activity. There are tensions experienced with our country between people with varying opinions and beliefs, and so we have sought peace in order to live harmoniously together as one country and one people. I am heartened to see that there are peace initiatives taken to settle conflicts between members of families, communities, and ethnic groups. We continue to use both traditional and introduced conflict resolution mechanisms to settle conflicts and tensions that occur in our community. And I give credit to peacemakers such as church leaders, members of the civil society, members of the Royal Solomon Island Police, our traditional chiefs or leaders, women leaders, youth leaders, including members of the parliament who have played or who have helped one way or the other to settle conflicts in their respective communities or area of influence. We are also well aware of the challenge we face in the education sector, such as the pressure to improve access to quality education or educational service delivery to our people who live in remote and isolated parts of our country. Due to increased population and budgetary and financial constraints faced by the government. Mr. Speaker, our education system and the need to educate and train our children the expected proficiency level and standard is recognized, and it has been an intent of past governments and also including the GNAT to improve access to quality education. As a government, we are also aware of the sentiment expressed by our critics, and we are listening to what they are saying, and so we strive to respond to the concerns they raise. For example, the improved quality of education and service delivery, particularly in the rural areas where majority of our people live. At this juncture, Mr. Speaker, I would like to reiterate the GNAT policy intent to contribute furthering the development of education in our country. GNAT recognizes our people as its great assets. Thus, it prioritizes education and skills development to empower our citizens, enabling them to contribute meaningfully to the nation's growth. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, GNAT will increase investment in infrastructure, greater information technology connectivity, and resource to support early childhood, primary and secondary school sectors for quality education outcome. GNAT, as a government, will also support greater enrollment in tertiary education and TWELFTH to increase the pool of skilled and job-ready workforce. Furthermore, the government will review and develop national education curriculum content specifically for the senior secondary school to reflect development needs, lifelong skills, and cultural values that embrace national consensusness and unity to stimulate critical thinking and creativity. Mr. Speaker, as His Excellency addressed, the GNAT is determined to make tangible changes in a spirit of unity, peace, and togetherness, as well as agencies. Of course, we will have to work with our development partners to help us invest in our education sector. Strategically, Mr. Speaker, my ministry is better prepared to advance educational development in the country in terms of its long-term education strategic framework and medium-term national education action plan and a new education legislation and administrative and management policies. Thus, the current education reform program that my ministry will be implementing or are implementing is based on the Education Strategic Framework 2016-2030 and National Education Action Plan 2022 to 2026. In short, the education sector framework long-term and medium-term goals and objectives of our country education systems are outlined in 2 planning documents and focuses on 4 key strategies. Number 1, it focuses on quality, relevance, and improved learning. Number 2, strengthening policies, plans, and management and system. Thirdly, emphasizing equity, inclusion, and gender equality. And finally, to introduce lifelong learning. Mr. Speaker, our education plans are aligned with the Global Sustainable Development Goals and Pacific Regional Education Framework. Mr. Speaker, financing education is in our country, like any other sectors, has its own merits and challenges. But I am happy to inform this House that our education sector continues to receive the biggest slice of the government budget annually compared to the rest of the government ministries. For example, since 2020, the Solomon Island government spent approximately 30% of its annual budget on education each year and is above the international average. It is estimated that SIG national education spend represents approximately 13% of the nominal GDP. A high percentage of the national education expenditure, which is about 40%, goes to the tertiary education sector, not including the payroll. Mr. Speaker, apart from the national government, the education sector receives budget support from its traditional development partners, the Government of Australia and New Zealand, to implement the education sector support program, especially in the curriculum development, teacher professional development program, school infrastructure programs, projects, WASP projects, and technical assistance. And my ministry also receives budget support from the UNICEF, especially to develop the ECE subsector and primary preparation year, and also on WASP for schools. My ministry is also supported financially this year through a loan and grants from the ADB to implement the senior secondary education improvement projects, which will focus on review and development of the year 10, 11, and 12 curriculum, infrastructure and capacity building of teachers and school leaders. My ministry, Mr. Speaker, is also expected to receive grants from the Global Partnership for Education to conduct system transformation program, and will focus on strengthening of the education information management system, teacher management system, curriculum development, and teacher professional development. The Government of Australia and New Zealand, through their new 8-year education sector support program, will invest in the education sector, focusing on pre-service teaching, teachers' education, infrastructure development, and professional development for teachers. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency stated that our government desire is to create and implement policies that promote education development through skills training to effect rapid economic growth. We can achieve the skilled workforce for the national labour market if we invest hugely in our education sector, and to create a conducive environment and opportunity for investors or Solomon Islanders to drive our economy in our country. In reference to the gender policy statement agenda, Mr. Speaker, I would like to reiterate the change that must happen within us. Our mindset, our attitude. Transformation can happen and must start with us as individuals before we can influence and impact the transformation agenda of our country. Our development needs to be seriously analyzed, understand why the problems we face today exist, and to vigorously address the root causes. Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure now to highlight some of the progress my ministry has achieved in relation to the GNAT's 100-day policy. Before I do, Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate my goals for the current education reform program as a context of the GNAT 100-day policy. The education in our context is fundamental and regarded as the cornerstone of individual and societal development. All of us are aware that education plays a pivotal role in shaping generations of Solomon Islanders today and the future by equipping them with the knowledge, skills, and perspective necessary to thrive in an ever-evolving world. As such, the GNAT has outlined the priority areas that it will focus on during in terms in our office. Our education vision being that all children and adults of our country should be given the opportunity to be educated and trained and process the skills for life and living. As the government implementing agency, Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development was allocated 6 priority areas to implement under the Government of National Unity and Transformation 100-day policy program. The first priority area that my ministry was tasked to implement was the new teacher salary structure for implementation in 2025, which is part of the implementation of the new education legislative framework driven by the Education Act 2023. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to inform this House and also the teachers of this nation that the new salary structure and the classification for teachers have been completed and tabled to the Cabinet and was approved last month. Thus, my ministry now has proceeded with the teachers' data validation and had firmed up the classification as well as prepare for the 2025 teacher payroll budget for submission to the Ministry of Finance and Treasury for implementation in 2025. It is proposed that the new teachers' pay structure will be effective as of the first quarter of 2025. This new pay structure addresses a long overdue desire of our teachers to be accorded to a proper pay structure based on their qualifications and experience and recognition of their profession as teachers in this country. Indeed, teachers deserve better pay to sustain themselves and also their families and children from rising living costs and to continue to offer their service as teachers of our children. The second priority, Mr. Speaker, that my ministry was tasked to implement in this 100-day policy program is the review of the school education grant policy. This work was informed by a study being done by my ministry, which conducted in 2023 to determine the cost of educating each child in each level of their education in Solomon Islands. It is timely, Mr. Speaker, that the school grant policy have to be reviewed to accommodate the rising costs and circumstances experienced by our schools. For example, there have been relatively high inflation rates experienced over the past few years in the country. However, the grant rates provided to schools have remained stagnant due to budgetary and financial challenges faced by my ministry. For the update of the Parliament, I am pleased to inform members of Parliament that my ministry has drafted a copy on a revised school education grant policy ready for submission to Cabinet. And the paper will provide a policy guidelines for key considerations for designing the school grants program, including the factors that should guide the ministry to determine an increase due to rising cost of goods and services, as well as the funding model that our ministry, the Ministry of Education, would like to use to determine and provide grants to ECE centers, primary and secondary schools. It is important, Mr. Speaker, to base improvement in grants so that the much needed funds are provided to spark innovation and changes at school levels. Grants have potentials to transform schools and positively impact countless students' school experiences. The new school grant policy will have both budgetary and financial implications, but the Government of National Unity and Transformation is committed to support the Ministry's new school grants funding model. Mr. Speaker, third priority area my Ministry was tasked on was to implement and to develop the school education infrastructure plan for the period 2025 to 2029. As part of the activity, the Ministry policy statement and guidelines for the school infrastructure in Solomon Island was reviewed. This policy ensures architectural and engineering standards appropriate to the needs of the country. It also includes provision for project management of school infrastructures. Excuse me. Moreover, the policy statement and guidelines for the schools in Solomon Island is expected to raise the infrastructure quality and safety standards through the provisions of appropriate and sustainable education infrastructure throughout the country. Particularly consideration, Mr. Speaker, is given to construct schools infrastructure and make available facilities and equipment that are climate and disaster resilient. Given the threat of increased impact of climate change and the occurrence of natural disasters in our country, this policy is aligned to the Solomon Island National Infrastructure Priority Pipeline 2023. Mr. Speaker, due to the need to establish a new school infrastructure framework, my Ministry has made a decision that the school education infrastructure plan shall cater for the period 2026 to 2030 and is expected to be completed in April 2025 and to be rolled out in year 2026. There is much work to be done between now and April next year, including assessment of the schools using standard criteria based on the Ministry's policy on accessing quality education. Donor supports to the education sector, especially infrastructures, will be aligned to the Ministry School Education Infrastructure Plan. And there is currently consultation being conducted to ensure there is better planning of the infrastructure to improve access to education across all schools in our country. Fourth priority, Mr. Speaker, in the area my Ministry is tasked to implement is the designing of our tertiary student loan service. This is the long overdue activity of the Solomon Island Tertiary Education Skills Authority, SAITESA. The progress on the proposed tertiary student loan service was drastically affected due to the impacts of COVID-19 between 2020 and 2022. The SAITESA task has been established with the support of the Ministry of Education management team to prepare a workable strategy to develop the Solomon Island Tertiary Students Loan Service. All in all, documents of the tertiary loan service are essentials and will include the following to happen. First is drafting of the Solomon Island Tertiary Loan Policy. And this will help to inform the drafting of the Tertiary Loan Service Bill, which is the second step to take, is to draft the Solomon Island Tertiary Loan Service Bill. And then that will help in the third process to draft the Solomon Island Tertiary Loan Service Regulations. And fourthly, we'll have to draft Solomon Island Tertiary Loan Operational Policy Manual. And then that should formulation of the tertiary student loan registration and application form. And then that should inform the sixth process, which is recruitment of staff to run the tertiary loan or students loan services. And then finally, once we've got all this, we have to put an annual budget for the operation of the tertiary loan service. Mr. Speaker, once all this necessary work is done, this tertiary loan service bill will be submitted to the Cabinet for consideration and approval. Mr. Speaker, the fifth priority that my ministry was tasked to implement was the review of the SciTESA Act 2017, with the intent to amend the provision related to the supervisions of staff and administration of the Qualification Authority. There has been some challenges faced by SciTESA since the enactment of the Act. For information of Parliament, the review of the Act is based on the Bills and Legislative Committee of the 2017 recommendations and Hansard report, as well as submission reviewed from influential others who raised the needs to amend some sections of the Act. The other recommendations was to review the SciTESA Act to amend provisions on scholarships and whether or not the National Scholarship Division should remain with SciTESA or to return to the Ministry of Human Resource and Education Administration. There are options for integrating the Tertiary Students' Loan Service and Scholarship Legislative Framework and to merge those two into one umbrella body. The progress made so far is good, and the task force will be conducting consultation with relevant authorities and organizations after the relevant sections of the Act is completed. We will seek to get views and on reviews that have been conducted, and once all the processes is completed, then we will submit this paper to Cabinet as well for approval. Mr. Speaker, sixth and our final priority in my ministry for this 100-day policy is to review the SciTESA Act 2017 and draft a mini rural training center bill with the intent to incorporate or develop a standalone subsidiary legislation for the TWELFTH sector. The mini rural vocational training center or TWELFTH bill was drafted in 2018 in anticipation of the changes that may be proposed in the SciTESA Act, and will be provided provisions for the governance and management of the RTCs, including employment of its teachers, registration and financing of RTCs, amongst other provisions to support the RTCs that have been established so far. The task will soon conduct wider consultation. The task force will conduct the wider consultation on the review of the SciTESA Act and the mini RTC bill to meet requirements and to ensure that people's views are gathered for considerations. Mr. Speaker, the Jinnat government envisaged that with approval of this new TWELFTH Act, teacher salary and the management should be addressed accordingly. Yeah? And also it will drive the creation of the national curriculum for all the RTCs, which skill packages aim at enabling graduates to be thoroughly equipped and empowered to drive forward the economic and social economic development of our country. Mr. Speaker, the Jinnat government believes that such a move will close the big dropout rates currently experienced in our country, our senior school levels, and produce more graduates with relevant knowledge, skills and values that are much needed in the private sector to drive our economic growth. Mr. Speaker, this informative change cannot only be applied at TWELFTH sector, but it must be coupled with the thorough review of our formal school curriculum to ensure that all subjects like English, maths, science, social science, agriculture, business studies, food technology, industrial technologies, religious instruction, all be given equal consideration in order to meet the needs of each individual child. Mr. Speaker, in order for us to be part of the global trade economy, we must adopt technological innovations and drive a blended economy. As such, my ministry has and will be looking more seriously into the introduction of the STEM education in the up level of our high school system as part of the review of our formal school curriculum. Mr. Speaker, since the Jinnat 100-day programs began, much of my ministry's work has been focused on these activities. And some of the outcomes I have spoken about. At the same period, my ministry has intensified the implementation of the Education Act 2023. Training workshops have been conducted targeting Ministry of Education staff, education providers, provincial secretaries, so that they can acquaint themselves with the education legislative framework. Mr. Speaker, there was a statement by our leader of opposition during his presentation on the motion, which I would like to correct, which the leader mentioned or claimed that the former government, through the former Ministry of Education, which announced its peace education curriculum, includes on the LGBT, an evolving acronym that stands for lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender. The claim made is very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, because it does not have substance. It is grossly erroneous, misleading, and outrageous. Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the leader has actually examined or analyzed the peace education curriculum or syllabus package to see if the text activities for students, let alone teacher's guide, focus on LGBT. There is nothing about LGBT in the peace education curriculum that was drafted in early 2004, and which is being revised to teach children about conflicts and peace initiatives and resolution. Moreover, I have read a copy of the speech that the former Minister of Education delivered to mark the International Education Celebration in the Honiara on the 24th of January 2024, found no reference to the claim made by the leader of opposition. The truth of the matter is that Solomon Star journalist who covered the occasion and drafted a newspaper article made his own interpretation of a sentence in the speech, which mentioned sexuality in the context of inclusiveness of our education, and titled his article published by Solomon Star as LGBT Tolerant Syllabus. The claim made by the journalist raised goosebumps to those readers who are very sensitive and distaste even mention of the LGBT. The selection of the title by the journalist, the title which is LGBT Tolerant Curriculum or Syllabus, was never mentioned by the former Minister of Education when she remarked on the International Education Celebration in Honiara, at Honiara High School early this year. Mr. Speaker, the Solomon Island National School Curriculum do not promote or support LGBT. Nor are teachers trained to promote the teaching of LGBT to peoples in Solomon Islands. Moreover, Ministry of Education and Human Resource Curriculum Development process says is concentrated more on gender issue, equality, and respect for people with varying beliefs and cultural differences. The current MAD leadership, Ministry of Education and Human Resource leadership, is fully aware of our Christian and cultural values and taboos associated with LGBT, and will never promote nor support it. Mr. Speaker, let me assure this Parliament that the curriculum development principles and framework on which teacher and students' guides and other teaching and learning materials are based on our guiding principles of education stipulated in our Education Act. And one of the principles states that ECE, primary and secondary education, should aim to foster an understanding and critical appreciation of the moral, spiritual, religious, social, and cultural values which have been distinctive in shaping Solomon Islands society and which have been recognized and respected within the community. Also to promote culture, custom, values, and attitudes that foster society harmony and positive outcomes. Also to nurture a sense of personal identity, self-esteem, and awareness of one's personal abilities, aptitudes, and limitations combined with the respect for the rights and beliefs of others, and to create tolerant, responsible, caring, and politically aware citizens who understand their rights and responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, let me say this, that the positive transformation we envisage improve the livelihood of our people remains with our government of unity and transformation. We are playing our part to achieve the policy intents we have set. At the same time, we should acknowledge that we live in challenging times. However, we have been more conscious of the challenges we face today and what we need to do collectively as a country to grow our economy for the betterment of our people and ourselves. In this, it is my view that we must continue to invest hugely in our education sector to educate, train, produce the skilled workforce we desire, and manage our country and manage our environment well. I know that we cannot change the past, but we could possibly mourn over them. But I know that we can change, we can change the present and build the foundation for a better future of all Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, with that, I support the motion and I resume my seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Any other members wishes? Let me give the floor now to the Minister for Home Affairs and MP for Scotland. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to respond to the speech from the throne delivered by the Governor-General on 12 August 2024. Sir, on behalf of my constituency of Shortland Islands and the Ministry of Home Affairs, I thank the Governor-General, His Excellency, Sir Reverend David Tiva Kapu, for delivering the speech from the throne on 12 August 2024. Speaker, sir, Ministry of Home Affairs also has some priority legislative initiatives which form part of my ministry's fundamental reform under the Government of National Unity and Transformation, GNUT. The following priority legislations are in progress. The Civil Registration Bill 2024. Sir, to have a strong civil registration and vital statistics, CRVS, is important in ensuring that the government is able to function efficiently, effectively, and fairly. Decision makers need reliable statistics, particularly on birth, death, and cause of deaths, to develop, monitor, and evaluate public policies for social and economic planning, for health, education, and other sectors. To be sound, timely, and reliable, vital statistics must be sourced from a civil registration system that is continuous, permanent, compulsory, and universal. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Solomon Islands Civil Registration Bill will replace both the existing birth and death registration, CAP 168, and birth, marriages, and death registration, CAP 169. In doing so, the primary objective of the Civil Registration Bill is to establish an effective, efficient civil registration and vital statistics system. The consolidation of civil registration functions to the Office of the Civil Registrar under MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, will only be made possible under the Civil Registration Bill. The bill will mandate the registration of certain vital events and provide for the voluntary registration or reporting of other vital events, and in addition to effectiveness and efficiency to the CRVS. The Civil Registration Bill will provide clear legal requirements for the registration of vital events. Mr. Speaker, sir, consistent with the GNUT Policy Priority Recommendation 8.4.5A, the Civil Registration Bill was developed and will provide for the following. 1. Establishing the Office of the Civil Registrar as the Central Civil Registration Authority under the Ministry of Home Affairs. 2. Improving access to registration services by establishing provincial registration offices, by authorizing the civil registrar to establish local registration office with office of the civil register staff and/or by delegating registration functions to provincial officials and health sector. 3. Classifying the roles, responsible and power of all stakeholder agencies, particularly the role of health sector as primary informant for birth and death registration. 4. Establishing coordination mechanism among stakeholder agencies. 5. Providing clear processes, including a one-step process for registration of all vital events. 6. Mandating medical certification of cause of death for medically attended deaths and providing processes for recording cause of death information. 7. Mandating the use of an unique identity code, UIC, for old and new registrations. And 8. Requiring vital statistics to be provided primarily from civil registration. Speaker, sir, the Civil Registration Bill 2024 is scheduled to be tabled in Parliament on December 2024. The Citizenship by Investment Bill 2024. Speaker, sir, the Citizenship by Investment CBI programs allow individuals to obtain an additional citizenship or passport by making economic contributions to another country. Such individual contributions may be large and, in the aggregate, have a microeconomic impact. One can offer you, investing your money can keep up with the inflation and increase your wealth over time. Now there are 4 CIP operating in the Caribbean, and the 5th one is in Cyprus. Sir, the Solomon Islands government, through the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Attorney General's Chambers, is currently working on a draft Citizenship by Investment Bill 2024 to be tabled in Parliament. Cinematography legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, the review exercise is necessary to analyze the effectiveness of the current legislative framework for regulating the license and licensing the exhibition of cinematographic material in Solomon Islands. The objective of the revision exercise of the Cinematographic Act, Cap 137, is to thereafter develop a more comprehensive and inclusive cinematographic legislation that keeps pace with the environment, development, and emerging circumstances affecting the cinematographic exhibition in Solomon Islands now and into the future. Mr. Speaker, sir, the review of the current Cinematography Act is necessary because the current provisions do not take into account the changes in technology and method of transmission of cinematographic images that exist today. The Cinematographic Act is restricted to film projectors using inflammable film and do not take into account the transmission, storage, and screening of film material through the internet, DVDs, CDs, streaming services, downloading services, USBs, computers, and external hard drives. The first step involved is research and analysis of current and contemporary legislation in other jurisdictions. It also identified the issues and problems with the current legislatory regime. A discussion paper was developed and presented to inform the research and discussion. Sir, the cinematographic legislation review exercise now reached the final stage of conducting consultation workshops with internal and external stakeholders and collecting the responses and ideas. Amendment of the HCC Act of 1999. Speaker, sir, one of the urgent and critical need of the Honiara City Council is to have a Honiara City Council Financial Management Ordinance, HCC FMO, to oversee, regulate, and administer the entire income and expenditure affairs of the Council. As I speak, there is a finalized draft HCC Financial Management Ordinance ready to be gazetted and implemented. However, the HCC FMO cannot be effectively implemented because there is a need to amend Section 24, 1, 2, and 3 of the HCC Act of 1999. Therefore, Ministry of Home Affairs is now looking on the required amendments to the HCC Act. Speaker, sir, a policy paper has been developed and relevant drafting instructions are being prepared for the HCC Amendment Bill 2024. Sir, Ministry of Home Affairs also has some major priority policy initiatives which form part of my ministry's fundamental reforms under the Government of National Unity and Transformation, GNAT. The following priority policies are in progress. Honiara City to be green and safe to live in. Mr. Speaker, my ministry will be working with Honiara City Council and other development partners to ensure that Honiara City is green and safe to live in. Honiara City hosted citizens of our 9 provinces and our friends from overseas, so it must be clean and orderly. Regular garbage collection, street cleaning, and commitments to planting of trees and investments in parks, green spaces must continue. Safe to say, there will be no cutting of trees in and around Honiara under my watch. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry will ensure the Honiara City Council's regulations and ordinances are effectively implemented, and they are as follows. The Honiara City Maximum Fixed Penalty Regulation 2023, the Betel Nut Free Zone Ordinance 2023, the Honiara Hawkers Amendment Ordinance 2023, the Honiara Dogs Amendment Ordinance 2023, the Honiara City Council Building Amendment Ordinance 2023, and the Honiara City Council Litter Amendment Ordinance 2023. Mentally ill patients to be looked after. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry is having meetings with Ministry of Home Health and Medical Service and Ministry of Police and National Security and the Honiara City Council for a solution to look after and care for our ill patients who are now sleeping on and roaming the streets of Honiara. This is a sad and touchy state of affairs and must be addressed urgently. National Hosting Authority handover of 2023 sports facilities to Ministry of Home Affairs. Speaker, sir, only 2023 Pacific Games sports facilities were handed over to the National Hosting Authority, to the Solomon Islands National Sports Council, and they are National Stadium, Aquatic Center, Friendship Hall, Tennis Court, Yumi Water Sports Park, Hockey Pitch, and Training Track, KG East. Mr. Speaker, sir, 4 of the 2023 Pacific Games sports facilities are yet to be handed over by the NHA to the National Sports Council, and they are Sinis, the Legacy House, and Multipurpose Hall, KG East, and Food Court. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is critically important for NHA to hand over all the 2023 sports facilities to the National Sports Council. The handover should also include the 2023 sports equipments and assets. Sir, this year, 2024, is an important one for all Solomon Islanders. After we successfully hosted the 2023 Pacific Games and our friends in sports on our shores, we received accolades from many across the Pacific for our organizational skills and put our country on the world map. Our capacity has been elevated to new heights as we inherit the fantastic standard sports facilities of the 2023 Pacific Games from our donor partners. We must ensure that sports facilities are used by the residents of Honiara and beyond, and we use them to improve sports performances and increase the reputation of Solomon Islands in the region. Mr. Speaker, sir, combining this with collaboration to expand the participation of women, girls, and those with special needs, we will contribute to using sports to create a more inclusive society. With our colleagues in the province, we look forward to spreading sports and physical recreation well beyond our capital to ensure more people get more active more often in more places. This will create systems to unearth our sports talent in our provinces to compete for our beloved Solomon Islands. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I once again thank the Governor-General, His Excellency, Sir Reverend David Tivakapu, for delivering the speech from the throne on 12 August 2024. I also thank the Prime Minister, Honourable Jeremiah Manele, MP, for his leadership and the Government of the National Unity of Transformation. With these remarks, I support the motion and I resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Home Affairs. Any other members who wish to? Let me now afford the opportunity to the Honourable Minister for Rural Development and the MP for South Guadalcanal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank the Governor-General for his speech from the throne on behalf of His Majesty Aoke, King Charles III. On this note, I also wish to congratulate His Excellency on his election and wish him well during this time in office. I also feel that it is proper for me to thank the Honourable Prime Minister for tabling this important motion, which gives us members and of course ministers the opportunity to highlight and update this Honourable House on the progress and implementation of our various ministerial programs as far as government's policy are concerned. In His Excellency's speech from the throne, Mr. Speaker, the Governor-General outlined many of the government for unity and transformation agenda key policies, and I am happy to update Parliament that within this important policy area, my ministry has 6 priorities. The first priority, Mr. Speaker, to provide administrative support and services to all departments, ensuring that operations run smooth by managing resources, overseeing budgets, implementing efficient process, and ensuring compliance within policies and external regulations. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, is a priority policy to strengthen process to improve accountability and transparency in administering constituency development funds to ensure compliance with CDF Act 2023 and Public Finance Management Act and Regulation. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, the policy to promote and utilize constituency funds to decentralize development activities and improve rural livelihood and services. Mr. Speaker, fourthly, the ministry is prioritizing the review and implementation of policies and legislation to strengthen constituency development and services. Fifthly, Mr. Speaker, my ministry is also prioritizing the establishment of Constituency Development Growth Center in all constituencies to decentralize development activities and provide government services to rural areas. And finally, sir, my ministry is prioritizing the policy to implement relevant organizational and functional restructuring within the ministry to align with relevant provision of the CDF Act 2023, which aims to improve service delivery and accountability. In a nutshell, out of these 6 priorities, implementation of 3 are well on track, while the implementation of 2 are slow but are progressing. However, my ministry's policy to establish Constituency Development Center is yet to start, as the ministry is still in the process of identifying the right resources and expertise to conduct research and feasibility study to determine the most critical need for each constituency. Otherwise, sir, rest assured that once it's done, work on it will commence. All in all, Mr. Speaker, sir, the crucial priorities are progressing well. On the outset, Mr. Speaker, let me have your attention as I elaborate on the CDF Act 2023, which was highlighted by His Excellency in his speech as one of the top priorities for my ministry in the government 100 days policy. And as you are all aware, implementation of it has already started. I am happy, Mr. Speaker, to announce that the Ministry of Rural Development, being the custodian to this important act, is now ensuring all the requirements in implementing it. Mr. Speaker, while implementing this act comes with so many challenges, I must say that I strongly believe through our collective support and in the long run, this important legislation will help us strengthen our wishes to realize the much needed development and transformation we so desire for our constituencies and people. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the Governor General has charged us to do our duties with honesty and clear vision. And for this to happen, we need to grow as leaders and do our duty well with honesty and integrity. I believe that as leaders, we need to set a good example when implementing the CDF Act, because I also believe that this will inspire the people to follow, and leading by example will help create a strong momentum of development. We all know deep down in our hearts that the Constituency Development Fund is an important source of funds for development, directly impacting our communities. However, before the introduction of CDF Act 2023, this fund has been misguided and has made so many of our people to feel entitled and become less responsible. So we need to change this mindset by promoting self-reliance and strong community participation. For too long, our people have become too dependent on MPs for everything. And this is something that we need to fix quickly, Mr. Speaker. Before the CDF Act 2023, this fund has caused more problems than benefits. This is why we need to work together to ensure this new act takes a strong step so we can help to lift our people to take more responsibility. The CDF, Mr. Speaker, can help us create a new environment of hard work, support, and self-reliance. It is a valuable resource that can help a positive differences. It's time to encourage self-reliance and move away from dependency. We need a new mindset of effective CDF implementation, starting with us here in this floor of Parliament. On this note too, sir, I wish to thank the government for national unity and transformation, for its ongoing commitment towards this important fund, where a total of over 200 million being allocated, and this is expected to boost the development aspect of our communities, of course through the guidance of the new CDF Act 2023. This fund can bring significant positive changes if used strategically, and this is why I'm appealing to you all, my fellow MPs, to support our transformation of the Constituency Development Fund. Yes, we are faced with a lot of challenges, but despite these pressures, we must lead the way as leaders. And I must thank all my colleague members of Parliament for your continued support. Mr. Speaker, for more effective and transparent implementation of this CDF, I am also pleased to update the House that my ministry managed to deliver on the regulation to support the CDF Act 2023. This regulation will validate and support the Act policy and strategies and resources. This will ensure that the CDF become a significant resource in Solomon Islands for collaborative, sustainable development. And it's our firm belief that every Solomon Islander will benefit from this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. I will also thank the government for making it a priority area within its policy to ensure thorough awareness on the Act for our people is carried out. And I have been informed that responsible staff of my ministry are now out in the provinces rolling out the implementation of the program. Me like Seosem, my good fellow members of Parliament and MP, imi no worry, after imi do me because everything by, instead by imi flow no mai. Mr. Speaker, in closing, let me once again thank His Excellency for his speech. I also thank the Honourable Prime Minister for allowing us member to respond to the speech from the throne. With this few remarks, I support the motion and resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Let me now give the floor to the Honourable MP for West Quayo. Have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important debate on the speech from the throne by His Excellency, as moved by the Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed with my brief debate, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the good people of West Quayo constituency to congratulate His Excellency, Reverend David Tiva Kapu, for his successful election and opposed as Governor General of our beloved country, Solomon Islands. It is our prayer that God will continue to bless him and guide him in his role as representative of head of states of Solomon Islands. In addition to that, Chair, I would like to also congratulate our newly appointed clerk of the Parliament of Solomon Islands, Mr. David Halu, for his appointment to this very important position as clerk to the National Parliament of Solomon Islands. I wish him well and pray that God will be with him as he takes on the important roles as clerk to the National Parliament of Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, as I have said earlier, I will be very brief in my contribution to this debate on the speech from the throne by His Excellency Governor General of Solomon Islands, which was delivered on the 12th of August 2024. Mr. Speaker, my contribution will focus only on the 3 points which I think important for me to contribute on. One is Binahamba project and South Road emergency maintenance road support to small business holders. Mr. Speaker, I rise again today to bring attention to the present matters of Binahamba project in my constituency. Since my arrival in this honorable chamber in 2022, I have consistently raised concern regarding the progress and transparency of this crucial project that holds significant importance for the people of my constituency, Malaita Province, and Solomon Island at large. But before I proceed further on this, Chair, let me acknowledge the government through the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources, the Binahamba Project Office, and the donor partners for the support to the project to date. I profoundly acknowledge the GNET and the past successive government for their persistent belief in the project, as highlighted in the speech from the throne delivered by His Excellency Governor General of Solomon Islands. However, Mr. Speaker, as national representative of resource owners and people of constituency, please allow me opportunity to raise matters in my leadership capacity that I think are important to the progress of the project and its future development. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, in terms of accountability, I humbly request that the Ministry of Fishery and the Binahamba Project Officer to provide summary report on the financial status and expenditure breakdown of Binahamba project for the last 10 years, and a progress update of the project to address some concern raised by the resource owners and citizens of this country on Binahamba project. We know the Ministry of Fisheries and the office responsible for Binahamba project has done very well in their efforts to ensure smooth progress of the project implementation, and I want to thank them all for that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as much as has been said about the Binahamba project in the media, social media, in this honorable chamber, and even successive government policies and work plan, I want to put forward a request for the government to consider developing a plan scheme as a guide for development of Bina Harbour project and its future. Mr. Speaker, Sir, as we keep hearing a lot about the progress of the project, the concern of guidelines on the development of the harbour is paramount to us and our future generation. As this is the first of its kind for such project to be hosted in Malaysia. Sure, we keep hearing on the media and from the public about land dispute and efforts of the project office to settle that. We understand that the acquisition process for Bina Harbour project was completed in 2021. After so many years of court, land trustees were elected by respective clans in line with the High Court ruling, which we think is inclusive. That should enable the project to proceed without the harm or unnecessary delays caused about by any nation or land dispute. Mr. Speaker. However, sir, the project continues to face unnecessary delays of legal disputes, submissions that is being entertained by the project office in the attempt to address them. This protracted legal process is not only hindering the timely implementation of the project, but also eroding the confidence of the community in the project's success. Sure, such partnership or collaboration is essential in sharing responsibilities to address and overcome issues or obstacles that might have potential to delay project activities on ground and speed up the project. Mr. Speaker, Sir, my invitation for closer cooperation between the Ministry, Project Officer, the province and the constituency office to streamline process, address challenges promptly and fast-track implementation of project activities on ground must be considered, Mr. Speaker. Under my leadership, say, my office is willing to be consulted to assist in any way possible that might be a hindrance to the progress of the project on ground, and assist in advocating on the project during our constituency awareness program in the constituency. And mostly the resource owners who sit in the dark on the progress of the project and not aware of all this that are happening today on the project. Mr. Speaker, to conclude on this matter, I want to call upon the government to consider in this national programs of the initiatives that should run parallel with the project implementation in preparing of people's mindset and preparedness to receive development and their participation in socio-economic to transform their well-being. Not everyone will be employed by the project. We have over 10,000 people living in the area surrounding Bina Harbour, and a job opportunity of 1,000 to 2,000 is not adequate. However, I want my people to have that mindset of running small businesses and our effort to start education, our people to acquire qualification skills and necessary knowledge
through RTC, university education, and so forth must be supported by the government in preparation for the project. Above all, Mr. Speaker, I encourage the Ministry of Fishery and the Binahama Project Office to continue with the good work that they are doing. And I encourage them to be inclusive as much as possible for a wider participation of our people. On purpose of information sharing advocacy and awareness to the resource owners and people living around Bina area. Sir, the second matter I rise to speak on behalf of my good people of West Choir in this chamber is regard to the emergency maintenance of South Road that is in progress right now. Sir, before I proceed further on this matter, let me thank the government and the people of Australia for their support in funding the emergency road maintenance of South Road that will reach the heart of my constituency by July 2025. Yeah. On that regard too, I want to acknowledge MID through the hardworking and the powerful minister for ensuring South Road has been given this opportunity for this road improvement. Mr. Speaker, I know that the project cost a huge amount of money. It is over 11 million of Australian taxpayers' money that is used to fund this project. And I wholeheartedly believe that such generous support to improve the road is on the sole object to improve people's socio-economic well-being, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I call upon those responsible for implementing this project to ensure that there is value for money in very single cent spent on this project. We do not undermine the competence of parties involved in the project, however, but I put this forward, this call, as a kind reminder that it is the people that are at the core of all this funding. The people deserve quality road improvement that will sustain them for many years to come, rather than a short-term measure to address the poor road condition. The people expected quality workmanship and value for money on this investment for a long term. Mr. Speaker, any matters that may have potential to prolong the completion of this road improvement must be managed and addressed as they occur. So on behalf of the people of South Road, which include people of Central Kwarai, Aoke Langalanga, West Kwaio, West Arara as well, profoundly grateful for the support from DFAT and Solomon Island government for hearing our crisis for the past years for improve of the road. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, once again, I acknowledge GNETS through DFAT for making this possible through its 100 days policy. Mr. Speaker, finally, contribution to this debate is government support to rural farmers and small business holders. While the GNETS policy focuses on job and wealth creation for the sustainable future for our country through some legislations, review, and creating enabling environment for foreign investment in this country, Mr. Speaker, our people that are already engaged in small business activities in agriculture, fisheries, tourism, public transport, and other small Trading businesses must be supported and inspired through government initiatives. Sir, I was highlighted in His Excellency's speech from the throne. The nation to eliminate the dependency syndrome amongst our people, which I fully support and could not agree more than that statement. Sir, Solomon Islands as a nation through the ruling government should also be reminded itself of that important statement. Solomon Islands for the past years until now too still depend on donors' bilateral relationship. The replica of that syndrome is seen being inherited by our people. So we must be mindful in our policy creation and implementation to avoid the syndrome. Government must support and at the forefront to drive initiatives to support our public transport, trading, and so forth. Any legislation review or policy initiative to create enabling environment to bring in foreign investment, investors must only be seen to enhance what we have already in the country, Mr. Speaker said. Mr. Speaker, Janet policy as delivered in the speech from the throne visualized on unity, transformative economic development, and prosperity for Solomon Islands. Sir, if that is a shared vision we have for our country, then it is imperative that we must seriously consider to prioritize policies, action plans with action taking that enable our people to be self-reliant and self-sustainable. Let's begin with our people. They are small business holders that are struggling to sustain their business activities. Some of these businesses have potential to grow into micro business, and government must support them through policy initiatives to inspire to grow. We must not overlook the potential small business holders have in job creation and addressing the socio-economic issue that this country faces, Mr. Speaker. To sum up my contribution, Chair, I call upon government through Ministry of Fishery and Marine Resources and Binahamba Project Office to collaborate and partner with the constituency office, its wider network on the Binahamba project. Thank the government of Australia and the Solomon Islands for the emergency maintenance of South Road, and I call upon parties involved to ensure value for money in the project. That the government must support small business holders, all sectors, as initiative to create jobs, wealth, eliminate dependency syndrome, and for sustainable economic growth. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge His Excellency Governor General of Solomon Islands for gracing this Parliament on the 12th of August with his presence in delivering the speech from the throne. And I thank the Honourable Prime Minister for moving the motion, making it possible for us to contribute to the speech from the throne. God bless King, and God save Solomon Islands from shore to shore. With these few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion and I resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister for Provincial Government and the Member for Simple Russell. You have
Thank you, Speaker Seth, for allowing and recognizing Ranunga Simbo to also make contribution to contribute to the motion moved by our good Honourable Prime Minister in response to the speech from the throne by His Excellency the Governor General, representing our head of state being King Charles III. At the outset, sir, I join my other honorable colleagues who have spoken, and of course on behalf of my good chiefs, church leaders, community leaders, women, youths and children of Ranonga Simbo in congratulating the Governor General. Sir, the election of His Excellency is but a embodiment of the confidence that the members of this House have on him. That said, sir, I look forward for his guidance and strong leadership during his tenure in office. Sir, let me also take this time to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for assigning me to the portfolio of the Ministry of Provincial Government and Institutional Strengthening. Sir, the responsibilities on me are quite challenging, but with the help and assistance of my ministry staff, I'm sure that we will be progressing the necessary tasks that are placed on me. On this note, sir, I also wish to extend my gratitude to the honorable premiers of our 9 provinces who have tirelessly putting efforts into leading our people and communities together as one people. I thank them for their ongoing support and the cordial relationships we foster among ourselves, and for me as their responsible minister. Sir, I also wish to acknowledge all the 9 provincial governments for their ongoing efforts to align closely their policies with that of the Government for National Unity and Transformation. This only speaks volume of the trust and confidence that they have in this government. Sir, the speech from the throne touched on several key policy areas of the government, including critical ones relating to nation building and development. It is evident that some of these policy areas highlighted by His Excellency are relevant to my portfolio and to the greater good of our nation. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency acknowledges the provincial governments in the critical role in forging our national unity. In fact, it is worth recognizing that the provinces themselves are the embodiment of a nation's unity. I repeat that line, sir. The provinces are the embodiment of a nation's unity. The moment provinces are disintegrated, we lose the embodiment of a united Solomon Islands, and therefore losing our identity as being Solomon Islands. Sir, as you know, national consciousness is a shared sense of national identity and a shared understanding that a people group shares a common ethnic, linguistic, and cultural background. Global studies and evidences have shown that unity and political stability of a country are the essential forerunner for progress. In recognizing that these factors are strong basis for a nation's progress, it is my ministry's intention, sir, to see that all our provinces are nurtured to become institutions of inclusivity and diversity in culture, languages, color, and so forth, become factors to be celebrated and valued rather than principles of divisions and disunity. Sir, at this juncture, I wish to thank and sincerely acknowledge the Honourable Prime Minister on behalf of our provincial governments for his foresight in ensuring and making it his priority to visit our provincial governments, who invited him for the second appointed day celebrations. Although these visits look simple, they contributed immensely to forging close relationships between our provincial governments and the people with their national government. Mr. Speaker, forging national unity and consciousness do not occur in a vacuum, but is a project which we must intentionally engineer with our people. This listening spirit and approach demonstrated by the Prime Minister in these provincial celebrations reinforces our government's relationship and strengthening our bonds between our people and our provinces. Sir, I truly believe this is the kind of leadership that we must continue to demonstrate to our people as elected leaders of this country. Sir, me like for kindly make him a good call to all of us, to all the members in this house, that whenever invitation or kata give him come to you me, no kata provincial second appointed day is by our premiers, and no provinces blow you me, please. You me transform him or kata heart blow you me, have some courtesy, and he me go attend him by helpful posting moral blow kata. What like for looking you me? This year, a couple of second appointed days, the Prime Minister and some members to attend him. I've shown that provinces play me, what I really appreciated. Presence play. The recent one, Aoke, me like for say thank you to those who have attended the celebration upon being invited. Isabel, Makira, what I finish now. The last one will be Western Province. That will be in December. Others have finished go now. Next year, programs here by him continue. So, me put to myself. For you, me, make him too. Attempt for you, me go and attend him what programs here. Time, what a good provinces for you, me. Invite him, you, me. Sir, let me now provide to this House a brief in some of the key policy areas and related reforms and programs that my ministry considers as relevant for us to pursue. Sir, many of these policy areas and associated reforms and program activities are ongoing from where it was left in the previous government. This will be progressed under my leadership as Minister responsible for these reforms. Sir, one of the important ongoing legislative reform under my ministry is the review of the Provincial Government Act 1997. Sir, the critical nationwide consultative process for the review of this act was done over the past 10 years now. My ministry's approach this time on this policy area is that we will be taking a robust approach now, so that the necessary review and amendment look at the provisions here can be completed and prepared and processed and fulfilled, sir. Sir, the progression of the review am slow because of the many challenges, by the very fact that we are dealing with multiple views, which are so often ideological, based on or relating to ideals, especially concerning economic or political factors. Each of the provincial governments holds differing views of each other on how the process and, more importantly, the outcome of it should look. So I'm fully determined, with the help of my ministry, to carefully guide and consolidate the views from all stakeholders to bring the review process to a satisfactory conclusion within the term of this government. Sir, we will all realize that the current Act needs a review in several important areas of the Act to facilitate service delivery and development programs and their outcomes at the subnational level. Some sections of the Act may also already contradict the most recent laws of our country, among others, the PFM Act of 2013, as well as the recent amendment in areas of provincial elections, which are now mostly redundant to the Provincial Government Act 1997. The necessary amendments, sir, should be aligned to the existing laws to avoid any contradictions with the principal acts for country. Mr. Speaker, we all know, and I want to re-emphasize, that the provincial governments need laws that facilitate decentralized service delivery, development, and promote democratic dispensation. The provincial governments need a legal framework that would help them to deliver their responsibilities as expected by the national government and, importantly, the people we represent at the community level. It is my ministry's ambitious target to ensure that the draft bill is brought before Cabinet for scrutiny by 2025. Mr. Speaker, as you may know, one of the biggest issues often voiced among our 9 provincial governments and our good people is that of the unequal distribution of our national resources, particularly fiscal ones, to support our provincial development programs. Speaker, sir, as part of the Provincial Government Act review, my ministry is working to find the best system and look more critically into the options for development financing which may be adopted to support provincial governments to their development programs. So I believe once this is considered in the legislative review, our provincial governments may participate meaningfully and support the national government in our national development process and nation building. In the area of financing development programs in the provinces, Mr. Speaker, let me highlight the ongoing success of the Provincial Capacity Development Fund under my ministry. Mr. Speaker, the PCDF, under our Provincial Governance Strengthening Program, has been our principal development fund for 9 provincial governments. My ministry has implemented this program for over 10 years until today. So, by way of background information, the PCDF was initiated in 2008, and at all material time, the program was funded by RAMSI, DFAT, UNDP, and Solomon Islands government. at its early stages, and more recently, the World Bank and UNCDF. The implementation of the PCDF has shown many successful outputs, particularly in small to medium capital, infrastructures and investments in classrooms, health clinics, coastal protection infrastructures, footbridges, provincial staff housing, market houses, and others more. Sir, the PCDF is designed to help enhance financial management control, public expenditure management, and discipline of public funds in the provincial government system. Many positive results have been achieved with strong public institutions and processes, including excellent discipline in utilization of public funds through the technical capacity building support under the program. Isabel Central and Choiso provinces have in recent times produced clean opinion in their financial statements in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. The audit reports are first of the kind to be achieved by provincial governments since the appointments as subnational governments. These are successes we must celebrate as a government with our people. Sir, the 2024 Solomon Islands government budget for PCDF program is $30 million for the 9 provinces. I hope this will be fully processed by the Treasury for my ministry to initiate the distribution of the funds to our 9 provinces before the end of the financial year. The process of distribution, sir, of the PCDF will be initiated when the annual performance assessments of the provincial governments are completed in October of this year. Speaker, sir, given the ongoing positive development contributions the PCDF has made to our provinces, I believe it is important that the government now seek to consider a more sustainable and efficient mechanism to implement the PCDF. Additionally, sir, my ministry is considering the idea of requesting the national government to consider increasing this provincial development financing up to an acceptable level of threshold. Sir, we have witnessed that the PCDF has immensely helped provinces in their small to medium-sized capital infrastructures programs, as well as improving services and the livelihoods of our people in our rural communities. Mr. Speaker, at the backdrop of this success of the program, let me at this point thank our donors and implementing partners, namely the World Bank, the European Union through UNDP, the New Zealand government through UNDCF, Serve the Children, SOCAS project for supporting our current provincial government's development programs and financing them through the PCDF or through their direct implementation mechanisms with the provincial governments. Speaker, sir, on that note, let me specifically thank the World Bank for its support through the Integrated Economic Development and Community Resilience Project. This project is jointly implemented by my ministry and the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Disaster Management. So this project alone brings in close to 190 million Solomon Islands dollars in development financing for our provincial governments. The direct support from this program through the PCDF is estimated at 84 million Solomon Islands dollars, which is projectized at around $16 million per annum for the next 5 years, beginning from 2022 to 2027. This complements the Solomon Islands government's $30 million commitment in its 2024 appropriated development budget for the Provincial Capacity Development Fund for all the 9 provinces. In total, both funding sources add up to some $46 million for provincial development programs per annum if the government $30 million in development budget for PCDF remains constant for the next 4 years. Mr. Speaker, the upscaling of funds by the World Bank through PCDF component covers and includes the upscaling of key provincial social and economic infrastructure investments and other key economic areas of need. The key focus of the investments under this project is on resilient economic infrastructures for post-COVID-19 recovery and is in line with the government's policy direction on locally led investments. Mr. Speaker, in brief, the funding will enable approximately 200 additional sub-projects to be implemented over 4 annual grade cycles beginning from 2022 to 2027. So these projects will include small infrastructure such as public 7 staff houses, feeder roads, bridges, culverts, pedestrians, bridges, footpaths, jetties, sea walls, market facilities, storage facilities, water supply, and community solar power systems. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce, among many other sub-projects funded by this World Bank support, the PCDF, the following projects, to name a few, which are now under implementation. For Central Province, Speaker said, the Central Provincial Ecotourism Centre at Tulagi is in its design phase and is estimated to be around $4.6 million. This is estimated to be completed by 2025 or early 2026. For Choiseul Province, the Taro Mini Plaza, Phase 2, is estimated to be $1.5 million and is nearing completion. On Guadalcanal Province, the following projects are planned and soon to be implemented. Agriculture storage and packaging facility, estimated at $3.2 million. Vavalu Bridge renovation in East and Central Guadalcanal. Kesau Bridge renovation in West Guadalcanal. Tavuhi Bridge in Lungu Ward. These bridge repairs will cost more than $1.5 million through the PCDF funding mechanism. In Isabel Province, Speaker said, the Guguha Bridge is earmarked for funding support and will cost more than $1.5 million throughout this investment grant. For Temotu Province, the investment through the funding will be total to more than $3.6 million. This will include staff housing at Lata, including industrial classroom building in Lusalemba and classroom building in Nipimanu. Further improvements of the Lata market is included in these investments costing over $1.2 million. In Western Province, about $3.4 million is allocated for various investment projects, including the recently completed Mile 6 Farm Project Phase 1 that cost more than $400,000, and the Gizo cruise ship jetty which, once completed, is estimated at $1 million and is progressing well on schedule. Speaker said, the programming focus of the PCDF, supported by Somaliland's government and other partners, is implemented in line with one of GNAT's policy principles for sustainable economic growth and development. Working in line with the policy principle, my ministry, through the support from our donors, with the investments in these sub-projects in the provinces, fully recognize the good partnerships which are built on mutual respect and accountability, contribute in a long way in achieving sustainable development. Sir, our work with the provincial governments and the rural communities through the economic investments in our program contributes in unlocking the national wealth that is untapped in most of our provinces and in the rural and isolated communities. These small to medium sub-projects, we believe, will encourage and create catalysts for a more inclusive economic development process for Solomon Islands. These also provide the avenues for all citizens of this country to participate in decision-making and other processes that affect their lives, provide local-level opportunities for employment in rural areas, and contribute a balanced and equally distributed economic opportunities for the majority of our citizens. So these are but some of the highlights of the successes of this program, and I am at this point indebted to congratulate my staff of my ministry, both at the headquarters and those working in the provinces, for their expert guidance in this program. Sir, in addition to the success in provincial service delivery and capital investment as highlighted, sir, my ministry also embarks on connecting our rural populace to the government's formal governance and development planning process. In the last year and a half, my ministry has initiated the implementation of its ambitious program on participatory planning and set up Ward Development Committee in all 173 wards throughout Solomon Islands. Sir, the implementation of this policy is based on the Cabinet approval of 16th of August 2012 of the participatory planning and WDC blueprint policy. The framework specifies the need for citizen participation in provincial and community planning processes, recognizing them as genuine partners, and to create platform for social accountability. The Ward Development Committee provides the platform for organizing, coordinating, and prioritizing development needs at the community level. It also plays an important role as the mechanism for citizen participation in the governance processes at the community, including social accountability and develop leadership in communities through Solomon Islands. This includes planning in resilient infrastructure development, reducing community vulnerability to climate change, and disaster impact. Sir, in association with the formation of the WDCs, my ministry has embarked on a nationwide induction capacity building program with the offices at the ward level in all provinces. The 134 ward support officers are now fully capacitated to undertake their community roles in leading communities in the development, planning, and governance programs. Sir, as part of the key policy directions under my ministry for the next 4 years, quickly go through them. The first one is to provide provision for fiscal autonomy and financial management mechanisms to empower provincial governments mobilize resources more efficiently to fund key operations independently. The second one is support provincial governance framework to enhance and integrate with constituency model aimed at improving service delivery. The third one, collaborate between central and provincial tender boards to enhance transparency and efficiency in procurement. Fourth, implement capacity building programs to enhance fiscal and planning skills for effective resource distribution. And the fifth one is to improve the coordination and resourcing of provincial and national plans to ensure a holistic, comprehensive approach. These are the key policy directions that my ministry will be driving under Gina in the next 4 years, Speaker said.
Mr. Speaker, it's now 4:30. I seek your consent to move a suspension of Standing Order 10 in accordance with Standing Order 81.
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister. Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Standing Order 10 be suspended in accordance with Standing Order 81 to permit the continuation of business until adjourned by the Speaker in accordance with Standing Order 10.5.
Thank you, honourable members. Unless any other member wishes to comment on this motion, I will put the question. And the question is that Standing Order 10 be suspended in accordance with Standing Order 81 to permit the continuation of business until adjourned by the Speaker in accordance with Standing Order 10.5. All those in favour, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Standing Order 10 therefore stands suspended. We may continue the business until adjourned by the Speaker in accordance with Standing Order 10.5. I wish to continue, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, sir. As I conclude, let me assure this House of my ministry's unwavering support for this government and its policies. We will continue to engage and support all that contribute to the progress and prosperity of our good people, communities, and country, Solomon Islands. Sir, as the Minister responsible for the provincial governments, I will continue to lend my full support to all our premiers, the executive governments, and the provincial assemblies in their roles as legislators and guardians of our citizens at the provincial levels. I am committed to support them in everywhere possible. I call on all the provincial premiers and the executives to work closely with our ministry, my ministry, as we strive together for the good of our people and provinces. Sir, we have come through many challenges over the past couple of years as a nation. Our resilience as one people of a united Solomon Islands was tested in all fronts, economic, political, and social in nature. Despite our diverse cultures, differing political views, which often at times may be opposing to each other, economic stagnation due to global factors such as COVID-19 and other factors, we remain strong and united and proven our resilience as one people. Sir, let me re-emphasize that the strength of a united Solomon Islands rests in the unity of the 9 provinces and its people. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the role that my ministry plays to forge the unity of this nation should and must not be underestimated. Our progress as one nation rests on this fact, Mr. Speaker, and I, on behalf of my ministry, call on the government to recognize this and pledges its full support behind the programs of the Ministry of Provincial Government and Institutional Strengthening. Sir, once again, I wish to thank His Excellency the Governor General for highlighting and pointing us to our key policy areas and the need to make them happen to improve the lives of our people. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this motion. And I'll resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Any other members who wish to speak to the motion? Otherwise, I will leave it to the Prime Minister to adjourn the debate on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the debate on the question be now adjourned until the next sitting day.
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister. Honourable members, the question is that the debate on the motion be adjourned until the next sitting day. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion is passed, and therefore it will be adjourned until the next sitting day. Honourable members, in accordance with the earlier resolution of this House and pursuant to Standing Order 10.5, the House is now adjourned until 9:30 a.m. on Friday, 13 September 2024.